They didn't smell like roses. In fact, if you lived in medieval Europe, your natural scent was something between burnt meat, wet wool, and regret. And here's the thing. When people did try to clean themselves, the cure might have smelled even worse than the problem. Because medieval soap, it was made from animal fat, ashes, and a whole lot of suffering. Today, we're diving nose first into the dark, smoky history of the world's most disgusting cleaning product. Welcome to weird old days, where the past was filthy, smelly, and weirdly proud of it. Before soap was common, people didn't exactly live in fragrant harmony. Cities were cesspools, literally. Waste from humans and animals was tossed into the streets. But the people didn't think of it as dirty, not the way we do now. To them, strong smells were normal. The scent of sweat meant you were alive. And besides, the church had a few things to say about bathing, mostly that too much of it was sinful. Why wash your body when you should be purifying your soul? So when someone did make soap, it wasn't for long baths and soft hands. It was a tool, a rough caustic block used to clean fabric, not flesh. The earliest soap wasn't something you'd want near your skin. It started with ashes from burned wood or plants. These contained lye, a highly alkaline substance. Then came animal fat, collected from kitchens, slaughterhouses, and sometimes, let's say, less than fresh sources. Mix lye and fat together, heat it up, and you get a thick, bubbling grey sludge. That, dear listener, is medieval soap. It was harsh, it burned, and it smelled like death marinated in smoke. But it worked, sort of. It could strip grease, clean wool, and remove grime from tools and hands. So for most people, soap was an industrial cleaner, not a skincare product. And if you're imagining medieval women taking a nice bubble bath, don't. They'd sooner drink vinegar than sit in a tub full of that stuff. By the way, if this already sounds horrifying but fascinating, you're exactly where you should be. Hit subscribe and stay with Weird Old Days, because next week we're digging into how perfume became the medieval substitute for bathing. Spoiler, it involved whale vomit. Yeah, whale vomit. Now, not all soap was created equal. As trade expanded, the art of soap making spread through Europe. In Italy and France, people began experimenting with cleaner ingredients. They replaced animal fat with olive oil, creating something gentler, smoother, even pleasant-smelling. That was the birth of Castile soap. But in Northern Europe? Oh, things stayed wild. There, people stuck to mutton fat and ashes from birchwood. The result was a yellowish, crumbly brick that looked and smelled like despair. In England, soap makers were so reviled for their stench that cities forced them to work outside town walls. Imagine being so smelly, your entire job gets exiled. Yet despite the disgust, soap became valuable. By the 14th century, it was a real business, especially for washing textiles. Rich merchants even began using it at home, in small doses, to wash their hands before eating. But only if guests were watching. By the time of Queen Elizabeth I, soap had evolved from a working-class tool into a luxury. The Queen herself famously loved clean linen and perfumed gloves, but bathing, rarely. Her courtiers might use imported soap from Italy, scented with herbs like rosemary or lavender, but still, it was a chore, not a pleasure. Soap was expensive, harsh, and inconvenient. Most people relied on simple, dry washing, rubbing themselves with linen cloths, perfumes, or even breadcrumbs to remove oil and dirt. Yes, bread. They rubbed bread on their faces. And while the rich could afford better-smelling versions, the poor still used the old recipes. Fat, ash, and a hint of despair. It wasn't until centuries later, when chemistry advanced and lye could be purified, that soap became something safe and pleasant to use on skin. Interestingly, most medieval people didn't realize what soap actually did. They thought it masked dirt, not removed it. And when someone discovered it worked better with hot water, the church got suspicious again. Hot water opens the pores, they said, and evil spirits might enter. So the preference remained for dry cleaning, perfume and faith. Yet even then, in monasteries, soap-making quietly continued. Monks used it to clean robes and altar linens. They perfected the recipes, setting the stage for modern hygiene. So while medieval people smelled like smoke and sweat, they were also laying the foundation for the modern bar of Dove sitting in your bathroom. From fat and ashes to floral fragrances, the history of soap is a story of survival, superstition, and the human need not to smell like ourselves. Next time you take a hot shower and breathe in that fresh scent of mountain breeze, remember, it all began with someone stirring a pot of boiling animal fat, choking on smoke and thinking, this might clean something. Welcome to weird old days, where every story stinks a little. And that's exactly why it's worth remembering.